Hi, it's Stu, and I'm still with cold, but I have some haul stuff going on, and I did a thing. I bought books on the $5.99 book outlet sale, and that's how I know I'm going off the rails, because for me, this whole thing is about thrifting. And book outlet's not thrifting, but it's online, and it's a little bit different than like going and finding, scavenging. And I think they're new books. And one of the things that I like about what I do in thrifting is that they're used books, and part of the reason I love, donating and book sharing and little free librarying is just keeping books circulating, so that they don't need to be pulped, although some little free libraries get some pretty bad water damage. But let me not go on any kind of long diatribe this evening. I have some books to talk about quickly. I make these videos, I think, for myself more than anybody else, because I go back and watch them, and then I kind of, because I'm not using Storygraph or any other way to track my video, the books that come in. I do track the books that I read just on my own spreadsheet, and I do track where I share them to, because I don't know, I just like to think about that, but I don't track when and what I get other than the videos. So I go back and watch the videos and then kind of make sure that I'm reading what I've hauled. And so here we go for the end of February hauls that I hadn't got to yet. I was given a pile of ARCs. So some of them I replaced. And once again, as I said in one of my previous videos, cleaned out Street Little Free Library. I went and just put some ARCs that I was given in there, and then I decided to check a few out, see if I'd like to read them. And if I don't within the next little while, that's where they'll go to. So this is Lev Akrosin's The Disaster Gay Detective Agency. And this book is set to be published in June of this year. This one looked fun. It looked silly and fun and sort of cozy mystery. And I have just recently done some pretty heavy reads. So if there's sunshine coming up soon, and if I can get over this dang cold, I think this is going to be queued up soon. Feels like just the right thing to do after some really heavy, emotionally heavy reads. Oh, the other one I got is a memoir. I don't really read memoirs, but this one just did seem super fun. And I am curious to what the heck is going on with Frankie Grande. So this is Super Gay by Frankie Grande, and it's set to come out in May of this year. And I don't know if I'll get all the way through this memoir, but I do want to get enough through it that I can figure out who Frankie Grande is and what is going on in this person's life. There is some sort of like comic book media going on in here too. Let me see if I can find a page. Indeed. So I thought that was fun. So Enormous Wings by Lori Frankel. Lori Frankel is an author I have read from before. I'm looking at the names of her previously published books. I think it was The Atlas of Love. I could tell you the whole premise of the book, but that's not what this video is for. This is just to talk. I'm pretty sure I'll hold on to this arc. Not only is it a beautiful book, I've read Lori Frankel before and liked her. This is supposed to come out in sometime in May of this year as well. And then I don't know about this one. This is Mr. Yay by Emily Jane. I think Emily Jane's speculative, maybe humor. That's what this gives. I don't understand this author and this cover and maybe even this premise per se. but I didn't put, like, of the stack, I didn't put this one in the little free library yet. I thought find out more about it. Maybe even try to read a little bit. And they all had press releases, but except for this one too. So I'm still not quite sure what this book is about, but it's one of the stack of ARCs that I decided to hold on to. And if I can kind of see if this will work for me or not, then sure, I'll hold on to it and read it. If not, little free library bound it is. Okay, so of all of these ARCs, they're all going to be published into, these are all new books that haven't been published yet. Sometimes I find ARCs, like recently I just read Brian Washington's A Family Meal. It was an ARC, however, it was an ARC that was quite old. And I'm happy to find and read those as well. These were all given to me as someone who would just like kind of via bookseller kind of situation, and they're all new. So any one of them, when I decide to read them, will fit the 50-second prompt of the 52 Book Club's reading challenges, which is to read something published into 2026. And I now have access to that. The next were Friends of the Library, and I'm just going to call it The Cover Made Me Do It. I just think this little novella has a spectacular little cover. The River Has Roots by Amal Imotar. I just finished How to Lose a Time War. So when I just finish a book by an author, I love to like immediately after, as long as I thought that the authorship was decent, and sometimes even not. Sometimes I'm like, every author deserves 2 chances. Now I have been stung on that and been like, I knew better, and I went ahead and read a whole nother book, but I got this at the Friends of the Library, and it's a little novella, and it's a out of commission library book, which I actually really like to find too, that I took all the plastic off of. And yes, Family Planning by Karan Mahajan. Yeah, Karan Mahajan. Look at this cover. I mean, honestly, the cover made me do it. Like, I have to select my 2 free books. I don't have to, but I always do select my 2 free books. And then I try to get 1 or 2 more, so that I'm, giving $10 to $20 is usually where I try to land, although I often go over that. Donations whenever I go to the Friends of the Library store. And any case, I was not finding a whole lot of books last week, which is great because the week before I found way too many. And I was kind of, I had to do a couple, The Cover Made Me Do It books, and this was one of them. This one too, Everything's Fine by Cecilia Robis. The Cover Made Me Do It. Once I read the premise, I was a little less excited. It seems a little gimmicky. It's San Francisco. She works at Goldman Sachs. Interracial. Okay, she works at Goldman Sachs. There's like a white guy that she knew from, and is conservative and kind of a pain in the butt. And they knew each other from high school, and then now they work together. And I think it's one of those, like, I think this is romancy. And you already know that. Who knows if I'll make it all the way through this book because of how I don't hang with romance very well. But it's kind of giving enemies to lovers kind of tropey stuff, which I also don't really like as a trope. Some people do like that building of tension, but I could be wrong. This could be witty and insightful and contemporary, and the cover made me do it. Okay, Hystopia by David Means. I entered into a discussion if this was even fiction with one of the volunteers, so I started reading the premise, and in fact it's sort of speculative historical fiction, because immediately we're like, wait, JFK didn't have hit a 3rd term. And he didn't survive multiple assassination attempts, which is the first thing that this book's about. So this is going to kind of speculate what if, and I did it for the cover. Ooh, okay. Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I know this is a trilogy. I've been kind of into trilogies. This feels like cozy fantasy. Not a huge fantasy reader, and every time I read a fantasy, that's exactly what I say. If you've been around for a minute, you know I read a lot. I went through a fantasy and then a dystopian reading period in December, and it kind of wore me out. I think I'm always interested in cozies because I do a lot of really heavy reading. And so something that is not too cloying or even insulting in ways that can be distracting. I dig me a cozy, and that's what I got off of this one. So I thought I'll grab a cozy for those times when I just need a cozy to, refresh and reground. The Year of Our Love by Caterina Bonvicini. Oh, I'm right in the middle of the Neapolitan quartet. I'm like more than half of the way through now, the second one. And the sort of like epic saga is, I think I said it in one of my previous videos, not really, it's not hanging with me. I need a little bit of a break from it, but it did, it did like poke out my feelers for, it's translated from the Italian, and the setting is Rome, not Naples. And so it's by Caterina Bonvicini, as I said, but Anthony, oh my goodness, I can't see it. It's too small, and that's what it is for being in the middle. Sugar is the translator, and the setting is Rome, and it's in the 70s, and I really like Rome as a city, so there we have that. And then Toni Morrison is a must haul for me. I am collection building for Toni Morrison. It's one of the only authors for whom I'm doing that, and this is a brand new book. And all of the other editions I have are like the original editions that I think that I read like back in the 80s and 90s. But this isn't one of her latest releases. And I'm not even that familiar with it, 2015. And so I was super excited to have found this. Let's talk about Little Free Libraries, shall we? There was a lot of unhauling going on this week. There was some holding on to books and waiting maybe for other weeks to unhaul them. Little Free Libraries my frequented Little Free Libraries were pretty full, and they were full of, now I know I'm established. They're full of great books. I just have already read them, and in some cases already had them and haven't read them yet, but mostly had already read. So I was really excited to see books. I know it has to do with my taste, but I was really excited to see books that I really like and people who read like me really like. In great condition in Little Free Libraries. And so in some cases I don't want to jam them full. I'll go back and the Little Free Libraries will be mostly wiped out or have space in them, next week when I'm feeling better. But I did grab Linda Rutledge's West with Giraffes. The premise of this feels fun. This is a Lake Union Publishing, which is a small imprint, I think, of Amazon. And this is about a giraffe, or a set of giraffes that get moved during the Great Depression. So it's it's historical fiction, actually. And I'm interested. It's 1938. The Great Depression lingers. Anyway, I'm interested in knowing the story of this giraffe. So Little Free Library pick. This goes in what I call the stacks. Hopefully I'll get to it. Ooh, We Are All So Good at Smiling by Amber McBride. It's a poetry collection. Quite honestly, I've hauled a couple poetry collections and given them right away to people that appreciate poetry way more than I do. But the cover made me do it. And I don't know, I read a poem or two from this book and I was already vibing, and this was a great Little Free Library find for me. The Darling House by Alexi Harrow. And I'm going to say the same thing that I say every time I find a fantasy. This one gives a bit young adult, maybe young adult fantasy, is that they don't really ever really work for me, but I want to stay open-minded. I know why fantasy lovers love fantasy. I really appreciate world building, and I'm hoping that I'll have my fantasy renaissance like I have had my horror renaissance, and really understanding why that genre, albeit not mine, the literary device and the tropes of horror just really serve good purposes sometimes. So this is a beautiful little book. If you know, I think about it a little bit more and decide, you know what, young adult fantasy probably is really not for me, or maybe even adult fantasy, it's a great one to go with whatever arcs I decide that I'm not going to read into my neighborhood Little Free Library, because it needs books. And then in the Little Free Libraries this week was one classic. This is Ernest Hemingway, For Whom the Bell Tolls. This is when Ernest Hemingway is writing about the Spanish Civil War. Content that I am very interested in, and I do really like Hemingway's writing, but I mean, his misogyny and his racism, not so much. And this is the struggle I have always with classics of, you know, should I even? And some days I'm vehemently saying yes, and some days I'm vehemently saying no. So I remember reading The Sun Also Rises, for sure, by Hemingway. I don't remember reading this. Anyway, it was in the Little Free Library. I decided to grab it and put it on my classic shelf and see if I can get to it, maybe. Okay, thrifting. Yeah, thrifting or pop-up book sales. Oh, The Bridge, The Bright Edge of the World by Ewan Ivey. I, over winter, for winter reading, read The Snow Child, and I really liked it. I really, really liked that book. And I was pleasantly surprised in liking that book. That book came on recommendation from a YouTube channel, which I have to get way better at remembering. And so I just checked it out digitally from my local library and read it and was like, yep, whomever that person is, I want to listen to them. That was a book I definitely liked. And so I was excited to find this for a couple of bucks, which is by the same author. Ghost Girl Banana by Wiz Wharton. I think this is Hong Kong. I believe this is a setting is Hong Kong. Yeah, 1966. This character is going from Hong Kong to London. I'm seeing names of characters, so it might have multiple, more than one perspective. So I have been recently reading books with multiple perspectives, even in the first person, which I've been really definitely appreciating the use of multiple point of views, and even that use of the first person. Now, when an author is not able to do it well, when I feel like it's the same point of view, just with a different title, and that's where I get a little weary, when the title of the chapter is a different name, and that's the clue, and nothing else about that character development lets me feel like this is a different point of view, then I get a little judgmental. So I get a little bit like, I hope they're going to be good at this. But when they are, it is one of my favorite ways to read, is through multiple points of view. And this looks like it's kind of interwoven, and I really like that too. So, oh, James McBride. Deacon King Kong is, you know, it's on my mind. I'm going to read it. Maybe even when I go back to San Diego. I think I'm going back to San Diego in beginning of July. And of course, The Heaven and Earth grocery store. I still recommend to people. People say it's too slow. I have a hard time getting into it, and I didn't find it slow, for one, but I don't mind books starting off slowly. And I I also like, this is what I was told about Dinkin King Kong was, oh, there's a lot of characters, so it's better if you start, with a character map at the beginning. And I don't, like, I'm cool being at a party and meeting a bunch of people and not knowing who they are and just letting it all come together by the end of the event or the end of the conference, and then knowing who people are by the end and not having to have it all figured out right at the beginning. So I'm cool like that in books too. This is a nonfiction, and I don't really jam with nonfiction. I say that all the time. However, I try to read at least one per month. This is just itty bitty, and this is about James Brown. Yeah. And yeah, that's all I have to say. I felt like I had time for this book. Okay. I had seen this at the Friends of the Library a lot. I keep wanting to read The Keep. I didn't love A Visit from the Goon Squad. I think it needs to just be reread. I think it's just where I was. I was triggered by it, and that could always be true. But maybe at the particular time that I read. And I tried doing, for A Visit from the Goon Squad, I tried to do it sort of like hybrid audio. And it was before I really got my audio groove down. So I'm saying all of these things to say, I have The Keep by Jennifer Egan. I hope to read it this month. But it's been sitting around for a while, and I've seen Manhattan Beach at my Friends of the Library week after week. Thought about hauling it for one of my free books, and then kept saying I need to read my second Jennifer Egan, since the first one didn't work, to make sure that that will work. Well, I found this at a thrift store for a little bit cheaper, and this Manhattan Beach is the one. Oh, I think The Keep too. I think they were both longlisted for the Women's Prize, so maybe my justification doesn't stand. It's just this was a little bit cheaper, and so I decided to grab it and hope I get to The Keep, and then I want to keep the third Jennifer Egan. Oh, over the winter break, I read Peter Ho Davis. It was The Welsh Girl. It was supposed to be a summer read. It was one of the books that I found in the thrift store that I go about 3 times a year, which is 10 books for $5 sale. And I didn't know anything about Peter Ho Davis, and I thought that The Welsh Girl was a decent historical fiction read, a World War II, take on World War II that I hadn't read before. So I was interested when I saw another book by Peter Ho Davis. I'd read him before, and although it's been a while, this is called The Fortunes. Celeste Ng, who blurbs a lot of the books I've been reading lately. And the setting of this is California. We got some film stars going on. I don't know because California isn't my favorite. Film stars aren't my favorite sort of setting and scenarios. But again, not a very good book. And I did appreciate what he did in The Welsh Girl. So thought for a couple of bucks, I'd give it a try. I swear that this month too, I'm going to read Girl, Woman, Other. It's been on my much anticipated, like when I finally found it, I was ecstatic to have found it. And I haven't read it, and it hasn't been that long, like 3 months, but still, it's been saying, read me, read me. It's right over here. And so when I found Manifesto on Never Giving Up by Bernadine Evaristo, I don't like memoir, but I don't know. I think she needs to sit by my Roxane Gay on my nonfiction shelf and say, every once in a while, you just need to hear someone talk about their life. Get real with you about their life in a memoir style, and you need to have these women heroes, and why not Bernadine and Roxane, right? So I did buy this at a thrift store. It was $3.99. And then finally, I read this last year on its 100-year anniversary. This is just a brand new book that I got for $2. And I normally, again, don't buy classics, but I just, if I'm going to have a classic shelf that I'm not that committed to reading, but just having for reference, I can't not have Mrs. Dalloway. I I need to have Mrs. Dalloway. And so now I do. And with that, I conclude this haul. Now, things are about to get really real because I am in this sort of way that I'm using my space now. I'm almost out. And especially when my maybe shameful, maybe joyful book outlet shipment comes, because yeah, I ordered quite a few books, and I might have to pull. There's a bookshelf in a closet that I just use for like pantry like storage, and I've gotten rid of all of the sort of extra kitchen things that I had for like entertaining or holiday meals, because I was thinking I would be moving, and I'm not thinking that. It's just not as soon as I was thinking. And so I have an empty bookshelf like in a closet that I have been waiting, because I know once I pull out that bookshelf and put it, there's space on the wall, but once I put it on the wall, it's like the beginning of the end. That's like the final frontier of space that I want to use up. It's not already built in to the apartment, like these built-in shelves on both sides of this wall. So I'm close. I'm close to that. I am close to that. Should that mean I'm close to not doing very many hauls? I mean, I say that all the time. One day I'm going to have to mean it, because I could have like, I can always save money rather than spend it, but the money I'm spending is nominal, especially since I'm not doing anything else. And it goes into all of these, good things like the Friends of the Library. I don't know if Book Outlet counts, so bear with me. But aside from that, it goes into things that I really believe in. And then though, you do reach the point, don't you, when you're just like, there's so many books to read. I feel some kind of anxiety around trying to read and keep all of these books organized and make sure that I'm accounting for or thinking about all of these books and not just having them and shoving them in the back, because I am a reader first and foremost. I'm not a collector. I'm a hoarder, a book hauler for sure. But I do sort of kind of feel a kind of way. So where am I? Maybe close to the tipping point, maybe close to the stopping point, maybe close to the I have to do a like official I'm on a book hauling ban for until I do a certain amount of something or a certain amount of time. Maybe coming close, just to throw that out there, because we're gonna do an unboxing when those book outlets comes. And yeah, so until then, or until reading wrap up, I've already read three books this week. So reading wrap up time. Maybe next week's TBR. I don't know what's coming next. I make it up as I go. So see you then.